Welcome to my channel. This video is for a farmhouse buffalo check bucket centerpiece. In this video I will be using this metal bucket that I got from Hobby Lobby. You see it's buffalo check and it's farmhousey. I got this styrofoam from the DollarTree. I'm going to be using this floral clay to attach the styrofoam to the tin so it doesn't come out. So you just want to pull it off there, rub it together a little bit, work it a little bit, and put it in a few different places, and then push it, the styrofoam, into the bucket and it'll hold it. Make sure you press the styrofoam down in there really well and give it a chance to harden. I'm going to be using a fabric mesh that I also got at Hobby Lobby. It is a really high-end looking mesh. Like I said, it's fabric, so it's very thick. I'm just going to cut it with scissors. I'm going to carefully cut it, try to cut it straight across as I can. I'm cutting it at 12 inches long, and I'm going to make spirals out of it. I'm also using some black and red deco mesh tubing, and I am making these loops 12 inches long, and that is going to be the center of my pick. So I'm making a pick out of 3 spirals from the mesh and this deco mesh tubing. So I just tied that off with a metallic chenille stem, and I will also use that to attach the mesh. See, I had a little string there. I just cut that off, and I'm rolling spirals, and I am doing 3 of these in a grouping. I'm just holding them in my fingers. Just roll them up pretty tight, gather them in the center, and then I will get my little deco mesh tubing grouping there, and I'll wrap it around there. Pull tight, give it some twists so it's secure. Now I'm going to take a green floral pick or stick that has floral wire attached to the end of it, and then it's sharp on the other end. So you want the sharp end away from the grouping or the bow. Now I'm taking the chenille stem from the grouping and wrapping it around the floral pick as tight as I can. I wrapped one chenille stem end one way and then the other one the opposite way. Now I'm taking the floral wire that's attached to the pick, wrap it around the grouping or the bow, and then wrapping it around itself. So now it's nice and secure. All I have to do is add a little hot glue at the end to make sure it stays in the styrofoam, and then just stick it where you want it. You don't have to go very deep. Actually, I'm not going to go all the way in, just maybe halfway. Now I made a second one identical to the first one, and I'm just sticking it in the styrofoam right next to the first one. So you see how quickly this is filling up. It's not going to take a whole lot to make this thing look full. Now I'm using a different mesh this time, a Snowball mesh. It's red and white. I'm cutting it the same 12 inches, spiraling it. But after I get it in there, I realized I didn't like it with the other mesh. It's not that I didn't like them together, I just didn't like it in the bucket. So I really just decided I liked that one first fabric mesh and only that one for this particular thing. For this grouping, I put a bell in the center, and then I'm using the white iridescent tubing instead of the black and red. So you just run your chenille stem through the bell, and that bell will be the very center of the grouping or the bow. And I'm measuring out my tubing there. I'm making them smaller loops or smaller bows than the previous one. These loops were 6 inches long, if you couldn't see that on my mat. I'm going to attach the bell and chenille stem to the tubing, pull and twist it very tight so it won't come undone, and then I'm going to spiral my mesh and attach it to the center of those spirals. And you attach the green floral pick so you can stick it in the styrofoam. They actually make these shorter too. They make this size and then a shorter size. And if you need something longer, I suggest cutting off, if you have like a flower bush, a an artificial flower bush, you can cut off the stems of those and use those as well. You see the contrast between them. I just didn't like it after I started getting it together. Now here's where the whimsical part really comes in. I'm using these silver glitter floral picks, and you see they've got swirls and they've got different things going on with them, and I'm just cutting them into pieces and using which parts I want. I really like the swirly, and I just think it adds something unique and different to the centerpiece. You have to be careful when you're adding these in there, since you have hot glue on the bottom. The hot glue will drip down. It can drip on you, and it can drip on parts of the centerpiece that you don't want it to. So you have to be very careful. And I don't know if you can see where I'm spreading it open and trying to find a hole to stick it in so I don't get hot glue everywhere. Now I'm going to add some berries, and these are the ones that look kind of iced or frosted. They've got kind of a clear coating on them that kind of makes them look like they've got ice or something on them, sugared, whatever you want to call them. After you've got them in there where you want it, then kind of spread the berries out, kind of open them up, move them around so they look more realistic. Now I'm taking the scrap piece of 21-inch white mesh. I'm just opening it up and gathering it. I'm just going to stick it down in the bucket to use it as a filler. It's just going to cover up that styrofoam, so if you can see down in any places, if there's any gaps or something gets moved, nobody will be able to see that styrofoam. It's just going to act as a filler, kind of like when I make a floral centerpiece and I use Spanish moss or something to cover the styrofoam. Now I'm just using this deco mesh. You really can't see it unless you open it up, but you just want to cover up that styrofoam somehow. Now I'm going to make a bow to put right on the edge, and it is I'm using this black and white buffalo check ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and I put a bell in the center of the chenille stem, but once I got it in there you really couldn't see the bell, so it was kind of unnecessary. I'm making the tails and the loops 6 inches long, so the bow will be nice and symmetrical, and it's going to be just a small accent bow to put right out, like I said, right on the edge. Now this ribbon has kind of a flannel feel to it. It's not flannel, but that's the only thing I can kind of think of to tell you what it feels like. And it's real floppy. It's not stiff at all, so it's difficult to hold its shape. That's the only issue I've had with using it, is it just gets smushed really easily. So you really have to just keep fixing it when you make a bow with these. I'm just going to cut a V shape at the end to, make the ends look pretty. This ribbon does kind of fray easily too. I'm going to add a floral pick to this as well. That way I can stick it into the styrofoam and it'll be in the bucket. If you had something to attach it to on the outside, you could do that too. Like the little handle, if you made a smaller bow than this, you could attach it to the handle. It was a little too long, so I'm just cutting the end down just a little bit. I want the tails to kind of curl out, so I'm just going to hold on to the top of the tail and then run my hand across it, and it's just going to make it give it a natural, nice little curve to it. So I took that red and white mesh out that I didn't like, and I'm just adding another grouping of that fabric mesh. And I believe I only did 2 spirals in this one. Now I'm going to add a ornament to it. I've got this silver tin sleigh with it's got some floral and a little bow on it too, and I just thought it would be perfect addition. So I'm going to put it right there in the center, and I'm just adding a chenille stem on the bottom of the sleigh. Just need somewhere to attach it, and then I'm just going to wrap this chenille stem around the spiral grouping, so it'll be the center of one of those spirals. You see, I'm wrapping it carefully around the grouping and underneath so it won't show, and I'm pulling it and twisting it tight. Now, if I had known I was going to do this to begin with, I would have went ahead and added it to the grouping before I put the grouping in the bucket, but I didn't even think about it until afterwards. So it would be a lot easier to do it beforehand if you knew you were going to add an ornament to it. But after I got the grouping in there, I was like, oh, it needs something in the middle. So that's when I started looking for something to put in the middle, and I found this little sleigh that I had bought. I did decide it needed one more little grouping. It just wasn't full enough for me. That happens a lot. You think you've got enough, and then you start looking at it and you think, oh, it needs more. This time I used a cable tie in the center, but before I pulled it completely tight, I ran a chenille stem so I could use that chenille stem to wrap around my floral pick. And I'm just going to attach it there in the center, or stick it in the center there. Just need a little something else right there. Now I'm going to add a little bit more of the silver glitter. Just, I never have a set plan when I start these centerpieces. It's just kind of an idea, and then I just build from there. And it never really turns out the way I expect it to, because I just kind of let it build itself. And if you see a hole, you see something that, needs a little something extra, like I did with the sleigh, if you have some extra greenery laying around, whatever you've got, use what you've got. The silver glitter pick I already had. the berries were new, the mesh was new, I already had the tubing, and then I have this green, I don't even remember what those are called, but it's just some kind of little green spray, and I like to use it in a lot of different things. And I just used one little bit there to set the berries off. It just needed a little something green in there. All right, guys, that is it. I hope this inspired you to make something beautiful yourself. I know you can do it. Comment and with any questions or what you liked, what you didn't like, but please be kind about it. I hope you subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. Share, like, again, comment. Happy holidays, everybody. Everybody stay safe, be kind to others, and thanks again for your support and for watching.